Hi, it's been 2 years since me and the team decided to put a bit of pause on our day-to-day digital transformation consulting work and really get under the hood of what generative AI, ChatGPT, Claude, and so on can do. And this video is about what I've discovered, and I hope it provides some insight into how you can look at approaching adopting this technology yourself. So in the space of 24 months, LLMs, let's call them for what they are, got exponentially better. And let's put aside one argument in if whether we're going to see huge step changes. I think it's unlikely. I think that huge step change will come from a different kind of model, but that's not really our concern. We've got very smart people who are working on that. It will happen eventually at some point or the other. But right now, even as they stand, these LLMs are transformative. Let's also stop to think of what the North Star is for the companies who are developing these systems. And let me read out what is written on OpenAI's mission statement. It says AGI, by which we mean highly autonomous systems that outperform humans at most economically valuable work. So let's just listen to that again. Highly autonomous systems that outperform humans at most economically valuable work. The statement should scare you. It means the North Star focus of this technology is being designed to do what many of us are paid to do. So let's set aside all the plaudits from the CEOs, the latest one from Anthropic CEOs, that they're worried that it's going to take jobs. They know it's going to take jobs. And they're working in a construct where there's huge macroeconomic forces that they can't just simply stop. They've got shareholders, they've got investors, they've got a whole freight train of people pushing them forward. They can't stop. But we can think about it differently and make it work to our advantage. I'll come on to that in a second. Now, the other reason I found this scary, because in the last 12 months, we've sought to prove and go, well, what jobs, based on my knowledge of the events and B2B sector, what jobs that I know about can be taken away by AI and could be done better? And we've empirically proved that there are lots. There are lots of those. And more importantly, AI doesn't stop. It doesn't need a tea break. It doesn't need to sleep. It keeps going. So when a business person looks at this, they go, why wouldn't I do this? And just as an aside, anybody watching this who is doing what I'm about to describe, please stop, because I've been at the receiving end of it. Stop sending pure AI-generated stuff to your boss. The only signal you're giving is AI can do my work, which may or may not be true, but there was one life lesson that was taught to me. Look at what people do, not what they say. And your boss, no matter what they say, will look at that and go, I think there's an AI opportunity in here. So do yourself a favor, stop doing that. Really look around the internet and understand how to use it in a smart way. Anyway, that's just a segue. Get back onto making my point. So where do we humans fit in to this world? And I believe that we've been asking the wrong question in terms of trying to get to that answer. And let me just step back and look at the concept of knowledge work. There are huge inefficiencies in knowledge work, and I'll share some examples later on. And those inefficiencies exist because of our tooling, which, although digitized, has not really evolved significantly from the days of paper. And efficiency gains in knowledge work are very different to what's happened in manufacturing and blue-collar jobs. I mean, those guys have been being chopped away at in terms of meaningful work, and now they have arrived at a position where humans are in places where they add the most value. And this is my key insight. And we have seen 50x productivity improvements in manufacturing. There's a really good article about this in the link in the description below. So the reason why AI is going to take a lot of the jobs is because of this lack of productivity, we've just never had the tools to get to 50x productivity like we have in the manufacturing sector. And I believe LLMs is that tool, combined with other things, but it fundamentally unlocks our ability to do that. So I've worked in startups all my life for small businesses. And usually when there's a problem in productivity or a bottleneck, the answer is hire an intern, create a management structure, which results in a really useless layer of bureaucracy, put in a work management software. And suddenly you've got 5 different systems doing different things, and everybody's busy updating systems. None of them are really up to date. And then, those of you who started the business go down the pub or coffee shop or whatever's your poison. And this lament has been going out through the ages. You look at each other and you go, we got more stuff done when there was 3 of us. What on earth is going wrong? And I think this, again, is where the opportunity of this technology comes in. So here's another example. Marketing wants to know about the growth of the tier 1 audience over time in the last 3 years. And you now have a data team, so it gets sent to the data team. The data team conducts some analysis. 3 days later, it gets sent back, pre-dashboard probably. Marketing team says, this can't be right. Emails fly back and forth. And they ask, how do you define tier 1 audience? And they go, well, we define it like this, whatever this is. And marketing team goes, well, that's not the correct definition. Use this one. Comes back and the result looks even worse. And what does marketing do? They spin up Excel and put it right and put that forward. I'm not kidding. What I've described, anonymized as it is, actually happened. And there are many more stories like that. And the next thing that happens is someone says, hey, we need a data literacy program and an AI system because AI solves everything. And you end up with a very expensive AI system where you need to buy training. Again, there's a very good podcast which I spoke to with one of my contemporaries where he said, if your system needs too much training, it's not going to get adopted. Don't buy it. It's very true. And you end up with a data literacy program which is half-baked, stuck in the 80s, completely useless, and just waste time. But now if we invert our thinking and go, I have LLMs, what can I do with them? And here's a scenario to solve for that previous story. The marketing team needs to answer that question. It opens up Claude, OpenAI, Teams, whatever your client types in the question, gets back the answer. It can iterate back and forth right there, and it all works. The data team is not getting frustrated because it's been asked to rejig dashboards and someone doesn't like a pie chart, so it becomes a bar graph. All that back and forth is just gone. And what you need to know is, here is the secret reality. That scenario that I just described, where you can have a conversation with, Claude or OpenAI or whatever, and get that answer, you can do it now. It doesn't actually require a lot of systems. The SaaS companies are scared of you knowing this because, it is entirely possible to do. And we're going to be doing this on digitizing events, and we're going to be sharing it with you. So that's the reason why we spun up digitizing events, to share this learning. And all of that now brings me to a concept which I call human in the loop. And by human in the loop, I don't mean human gets an email and say, oh, here's some generative AI nonsense. Do you like it? Don't you like it? It's not what I mean. So we got to the solution where I can wake up in the morning and type into Claude saying, hey, what's my web traffic? How did that campaign go? And it goes off and does it and comes back. Because we asked ourselves a question: what can AI do better? Where do we actually want to apply our knowledge to? Where do we want to be in terms of doing work that excites us, fulfills us, where we can apply our skills in an AI-centric organization? And how do we need to change how we think about work and the services we provide as well in the AI world. And forcing ourselves to think like that was somewhat frightening, because I realized that, building dashboards in Looker Studio, Power BI, that's going to be an AI task very, very soon. 6 months, I give it. And it'll be very accessible. You don't need a expensive system that does it now. You'll be able to do it out the box. And understanding SQL, to do queries, basic queries anyway, on large data sets to give you information. And that too will, and in fact is already, a specialist AI job. And that realization becomes important. So if that specialist AI can do that, where do we sit? And that specialist AI will also do a possible job of creating your initial data structure. But here's where you still need human intelligence, because you will need all that experience to make it the right data structure. So it'll get you to base one. Where did that leave us? With the DIG, the Digital Intelligence Generator, which provides analysis and information in a traditional way. And it's got like this massive asteroid heading towards it. It's going to blow it up. And that's how you should look at your business and your internal operations. Every one of them has a massive asteroid heading towards them. How do you want to control that explosion is what Human in the Loop is all about. How do you want to make sure that your talent is redeployed to maximize its talent and eliminate all the stuff that wastes its talent right now? So for us, it was all about applying our imagination and curiosity, and we went, what will happen if we could provide small media businesses with a way of speaking to their data, not in a huge, hey, you need £100 a month platform? What impact could that have on that business? Think about the transparency it would create. Everybody in the business could wake up in the morning and go, how did that campaign perform? It would just get rid of a whole load of steps and processes and reports you need to create and so on. And here's a little secret. What I described isn't actually that hard to do. So follow this channel, we'll tell you how to do it. And this is where the idea of Human in the Loop really started to crystallize. It's about reimagining the process in our AI-centric world to put people into roles that require imagination, curiosity, and domain knowledge. AI does not have imagination. I'm going to do a little segue and I'll show you. I'm going to try and spoof that Google Gemini ad about gochujang pasta sauce. So let's try one of these AI claims just as a segue. I've turned on Gemini on my phone. It's a Samsung phone. And I'm going to ask it, what can I do if I've put too much sugar into my gochujang pasta sauce, which is a big ad that's going around in the UK. And it goes immediately into, hey, you can make some cookies out of it. So let's see if that actually works. Hey, Gemini, I've added too much sugar to my gochujang pasta sauce. What can I do?
Oh no, that's a bummer. Don't worry, it happens to the best of us. To balance out the sweetness, try adding a splash of lemon juice or vinegar for some tanginess. A pinch of salt might also do the trick. If you have some, a dash of red pepper flakes can introduce a bit of heat to counter the sweetness. Let me know if you need any more tips.
So that is the reality of it. LLMs are one-directional. They have no imagination. So the ad, which goes from gochujang pasta sauce, I've added too much sugar, to, hey, let's make some cookies, requires imagination. Humans do that. These things don't. So we should have that in our mind's eye when we think about these systems as well. LLMs really kind of suck at originality. They're a prediction engine. And sometimes they're manufactured to be original, but they're not really. So this is how we stay relevant and go way beyond relevant. It's how we are able to create way more value than we would if we just carry on in a blinkered way, trying to make these old processes go faster and more rapidly. It's what Seth Godin called paving the good path. And here's the trick. AI can't be thought of as like another platform or another piece of software we need to adopt and apply into our world. It is a fundamentally different type of tool. And it can do things that all our existing tools couldn't do. It can be trained to make decisions on our behalf. It can be trained to act on our behalf. It can be trained to do things while we're asleep and do them well. And the big problem is that most process people I've come across are so ingrained with tools and methodologies of which are aligned to adopting software, and it's so stuck in the past. Pretty much methodologies out of the 80s. And a lot of these people have all the imagination of a fly trying to deal with a pane of glass. And that is not what we need in order to adopt AI and maximize our talent. We need to reimagine the way we work entirely from the ground up. I believe we're on the cusp of cusp is the wrong word. We are in the middle of a massive opportunity for startups and small companies, which can make these decisions and shifts much more quickly than large institutions, which I've also worked at, whose institutional inertia is just so high. Can you imagine, going into a business and say, hey, that analytics platform? Don't need it. We can plug straight into Google Analytics API and get all the information we need. The only people who actually need that are the data team, so they can do more complex stuff. We've probably signed a 5-year deal with this platform. How are you going to reverse out of that? So that's where our opportunity is. Also, please educate yourself to see the hand grenades of doubt, which is what I call them, which people are throwing in to conversations around AI. And it's usually by companies who are just playing massive catch up and they need everything to slow down to buy themselves time. Or the flip, where hugely unrealistic promises are made and you adopt and you end up in a world of pain. You don't have to Google that far to see news where 80% of AI projects fails or 30% don't get past the initial proof of concept. And having spoken to people who are working on some of these projects, they are all trying to still stay in our current paradigm of work and value. And we need to throw that out the window. We just need to completely relook at it, not do it all in one go, but bite it off chunk by chunk. And that'll give you a significant advantage. I am convinced of it. I'm so convinced of it, which is why we're doing digitizing events where we are going, okay, how much further can we go by being in a AI-centric, agentic ecosystem, and how far can that take us? So we're doing this out in the open so you can watch us succeed and fail live. We are going to push out using the human-in-the-loop approach, and in the description below, I've got an article where it's my first version of the principles that human-in-the-loop should adopt. Again, not yes, no to an answer, but actually putting people into an AI-centric agentic process where we enjoy what we do and we create way more value than we could if we weren't in it. My inspiration for human in the loop is much more about this concept of driver in the loop in racing car simulators. You're completely encased by the technology. It makes you feel like you're part of the action, and it is real, and you get responses and immediate feedback. That, to me, is human in the loop AI process design. That is how it should be. So there's a bit of another analogy from media businesses I've run in the past, which were in the energy efficiency sector. And in that sector, everybody was talking about, when it started becoming a thing, that, replace your bulbs with LED lighting, replace your bulbs with LED lighting. And if you're a huge factory, that gives you an immediate hit. And that is how I see this world at the moment. Everybody is giving their employees access to GPTs, whatever flavor you choose. and they're seeing a hit. There's a great study that says on average 1 to 2 hours are regained by human employees. But that to me is the low-hanging fruit. That's like changing your bulbs for LED lighting in the energy efficiency sector. If you really want to grab the potential, you need to go out and find those opportunities that other people can't see. And let me say this in terms of the utilization of AI, and I'm not talking about the hugely clever people who are building these models and thinking of different new ones. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the utilization of AI. We're all kind of stuck at first base. Maybe we've run halfway to first base, rather, not stuck at first base. We're still at the plate. So we're all somewhere in between. None of us really have hit first base yet. So it's a huge, huge opportunity. But finding these opportunities is challenging, and most companies will back out of it, especially the big ones. So if you're a small entrepreneurial company, again, that is your superpower, because you can make those changes and apply them now. So let me now share with you, by applying that thinking, we have eliminated 7 SaaS platforms from our business and doing the work we want to do better with less friction. 7. And that is all about thinking about how and where do you now put these agents, what do they do, and how do you reimagine the way your organization produces value. So I'm going to share a few examples of this. So there are numerous efficiencies that can be gained in how content is generated. And I'm not talking about the asinine promise from 24 months ago. You type in a few sentences and you get a blog post. Tried and tested, fail. What you're seeing on the screen now is the way we've looked at it. And we've gone, hey, can we, with AI, generate a further reading section that is written in context with the articles on which it's being exposed, and writing the intro in a way that leads people into those suggested further readings, and writing the description of each one of those in context with the article, where we go, hey, you should read this because it's in line with this and talks about this. So it's a little bit like a human saying, hey, this article is good, but so is this one because, and that is now accessible. We can do it. The one thing we're working on is that when you click on it, how can we take it to the exact point to that user journey? Now, why is that important other than sounding clever? It's because our engagement time has gone through the roof because people are reading and clicking through because they're being guided. And this doesn't, the old world was an editor looking at it and say, hey, I think these 3. And then you have those 3. But the title is the same as it is there. And you're asking people to take a leap of imagination, say, oh, I can see, maybe it has this. Whereas what we're saying is that it does have this, so go ahead and read it. And that is another example about just reimagining how we present and personalize content. And what I've described is just so scarily simple now. All these engines must be really worried about the simplicity in which this could be done. So we've now freed ourselves up to really look at the data and go, hey, where are the clicks? Where are the engagement? And how do we give that information back into our content process design so that we know the next piece of content we're creating is aligned to the value that the audience would like. And for the first time, also, we have a tool set that can operate platforms for us. If you haven't already, look at the concept of MCPs, where you can control the updates, how things are being changed, and again, in a remarkably simple way. And only remarkably simple is because we have these LLMs, which have got such huge power inside them just waiting to be unlocked. That's why it's simple. They are able to make that decision making. the biggest win I see is in this whole thing about project management. You get whatever tool you want, or work management, and you're like updating stuff like crazy. You still don't know what's going on, particularly in a small business where you're changing things quite fluidly. And that's the reality of a small business. It's what makes it fun. It's also what makes it frustrating. But, how can we put a layer of intelligence, wrap a small business with a layer of intelligence whereby you know what's going on without having to update loads of different systems? You just know. And imagine what that would do. And that would be powerful. We could just get on and do what we want to do. And here's an anthropological thing as well, is that we work most effectively when we're not distracted and focused on a single outcome. You think of all the systems we put into work, they're all kind of needy little things vying for attention. There's ping, oh, you've got an email. Oh, ping, you've got a message. And the more disciplined among us obviously turn it off. But they are attention seeking. Whereas I think there is an opportunity to create something that just knows. It doesn't need attention, it just knows. And it'll prompt you at the right time when you're not deep in thought. So here's what we intend to do with our AI adoption. We will experiment in full view of the world on digitizing events, and SL and I will uncover different ways of applying AI. We will share them with you. We will share the results. You can adopt them or not adopt them. That's your choice. But we're going to do it with a human in the loop way. So every time we share it, we go, hey, this is how it'll help your talent be better. And most importantly, I think human in the loop is the only ethically responsible way of adopting AI. We should always ask, how do we make our people better, rather than how many people can this replace? That's a slippery slope, and we should try and avoid it. We're quite excited about this scary and exciting journey we've chosen to be on. And thanks very much for following. And we'll share all the tools we use and our views on them, and hopefully help all of us entrepreneurial small businesses navigate our way collectively through this AI revolution and outperform our bigger rivals. That'd be fun.